Hello everyone, this is Haxaclappa, and today we'll be looking at the MiG-21bis. So if you guys don't know, I made a video on this thing about 4 months ago, and a lot has changed, but also I made a ton of errors in that video. So today, that's why I will be re-reviewing this plane. So let's take a look at the basic stats. This is a Tier 7, Level 11 Soviet fighter, and it's the only one in the Soviet tech tree. It has an optimal speed of 424, a turn rate of 34 degrees per second, a roll rate of 243 degrees per second, one GSH cannon with 250 rounds, as well as a thrust to weight of 0.84 and R-60 missiles. Now, here is the turn curve. It speaks for itself. So let me give you the basics of the flight performance. Let's start off with some pros and cons. Basically, the MiG-21 is really good at low speed, and it's really not good at anything else. This means that you'll need half a brain to fight people in this plane, because you have a very strong ability, but you have to know how to use it. Otherwise, in public matches, you might as well just spam your R60s and just get those kills. It's really not that hard to get kills in this thing. But since you don't really need to learn how to use missiles, I'll be teaching you guys some things today. And here are strategies to fight other planes. That's pretty simple. I think it should get you mostly there. Now I have some dual footage to show how you fight other planes. So let's start off with a quick one against another MiG-21bis. This is piloted by Flippa, and yeah. So how you start off here is you deploy air brakes and you drop your altitude. And right here you want to stay as close with your optimal speed as possible. So right now I'm turning to lose my speed, and then now I go into the merge. So this is a duel, so I don't have to worry about head-ons, but otherwise you might want to dodge here and there. And so here we go into the merge, and then because he's not at optimal speed, I get guns on very early, and that's game. Now, here's one of the intro clips where I run an energy trap on a MiG-21 that is at optimal speed. So at this point, I was losing the 1v1, so I couldn't really risk this one with the rate. So here, I'm going to fly up to higher altitudes. He cannot pitch up for me because he's too slow. And while I'm up high, I can abuse my optimal speed here. It's around 500, and my nose just slowly comes around, and he can't really do anything about it, and that's the kill. But also, you can end up with fights like this where you're just in a rate, and what you want to do here is literally just keep your eye on your throttle and go up and down accordingly, and just try your best to keep that bar dark blue. And so if you do a better job maintaining your optimal speed, your nose is going to come around at some point, and then that will be game. So here I do manage to rate better than him, and I get the shot here. It wasn't a good shot, but that kind of scared him, so he goes up and I get the kill. So when you're fighting the F5, you really want to have a altitude advantage over it. The F5 has really bad thrust to weight. It really cannot climb after you, and it really sucks at higher altitudes. So right here, the F5 is completely energy trapped, and he can try to pull up into me. Right now, I'm not that maneuverable, but as you see here, he just cannot pull into my MiG, and now I'm just able to completely pull into him. I'm outside of his weapon employment zone now. So he tries to pull off, but it's already too late. The MiG-21 has no problem catching an F5, and that's how he goes down. Now here's a pretty quick tutorial on how you kill the F1 in the MiG-21bis. It's really simple. You get slow. You see here, I'm slow, and then you just fire a missile. and there's absolutely nothing he can do about it. Pretty easy. Okay, so now how do you fight phantoms? Well, it's actually pretty simple. You just full send it. The F4E can turn into you for the first turn, but afterwards it's just completely done. Otherwise, your thrust to weight is only a little worse, and in these confined duels, there is really not that much space for them to leverage that advantage. Lastly, we have the Mirage fight. The Mirage is basically the MiG, but more optimized for these 1v1 scenarios. You have to try to stall out the Mirage because there's no way you're outrating it when you're slow. So when you're stalling it out here, you just have to pray to God that those cannon shots don't hit, and if you actually survive, then you can hop on their 6 and you can get the kill. Otherwise, it's completely dependent on what the other player does. This plane is not better than the Mirage for these 1v1 scenarios, and now you can just run them down and you can get the kill at the very end. So yeah, there really is no consistent way to kill Mirages besides capitalizing off their mistakes. Okay, so now that we have the flight performance related stuff out of the way, let's talk about how this plane actually performs in the game. Really, it's pretty simple. You just use the missiles that you have. You can also abuse your great maneuverability at higher altitude. So basically, this is the cycle that you should always follow. So basically, you spawn in, you go up, and then you come down while spamming missiles. And the reason why you want to climb is because when you're really that high up, a lot of people don't look up. So when you point your nose down and you start shoving missiles, they don't see it coming and they don't flare, and you get some pretty easy kills. And if someone really notices you, there's really not much for you to worry about because you have them energy trapped, so they'll probably be stalling out by the time they meet you while you're at your optimal speed, so you're going to be able to easily turn into them. After that, you just die and you just rinse and repeat. So, with that in mind, is this plane meta? Definitely not. But is it a fun one? That's for sure. And now, that is the end of the review. I have a pretty nice game here that demonstrates how this plane plays in pubs, so feel free to stick around for this.